Have you been thinking and dreaming about making a move and moving to the beautiful state of Utah and most likely to the beautiful city of Provo? If so, then you want to stay tuned. Make sure that you check out our description area where I have links to start your home search, to learn more about me, Katerina Gassett, and Tristan Gassett. We are realtors with eXp Realty, and we are licensed in the state of Utah. We can help you find your perfect home here in Utah. This video is about the cost of living in Provo, Utah in 2024 and what that means to you. So we're going to go over some data, but I'm going to explain a little bit about how you have to take data and then weigh the pros and cons, because sometimes one of the things you might be wanting to move for is worth paying a little extra for. Okay, I'm going to have my notes here. And so I usually do everything impromptu and just speak from my heart, but I don't want to get these numbers wrong. So I am going to be glancing down at my notes here and there. So the first thing that I wanted to go over was that Utah is, according to PayScale, is 4% higher cost of living than the national average. But you can't just look at that and say, oh, that means it's higher. No, that means that 70% of the states in the United States are actually higher cost of living than Provo, Utah. So the other cities in the United States outside of Utah are higher cost of living than in Utah in most cases. Of course, if you're living in Oklahoma or Arkansas, some of the southern states there, that cost of living is going to be lower. You have to take that into consideration when you're doing that, figuring out how much more or how much less it is going to cost you when you move to Provo, Utah. Provo is less expensive in housing than a lot of states, but it is on the national average 12% higher. So again, you have to take that into consideration. And we have market reports on our YouTube channel that you can check out. And also on our website, you can go to our website. The link is in the description area. You can also go to tristansellsutah.com to start your home search right away. If that's what you want to do, if you want to stop this video and just go look for a house, and then we would be more than happy to represent you and be your real estate advocate. Now, housing costs are around 12% higher than the national average. However, they're much lower than states like California and New York and Illinois. So it just, again, depends where you're moving from. We can help you with that a lot if you want to give us a call or text us, and we could get together on the phone or on a Zoom call or on Google Meet and FaceTime, whatever is comfortable for you. And we can go over these numbers and figure out, look up the data, help you find where you can go to look up the data. And then you can make a very informed decision. Now, utilities are on an average 11% lower than any other state. But actually, I think they're even lower than that if you have natural gas. So a lot of our homes are heated with natural gas, and natural gas is in abundance in Utah, and we have a lot of it. And so it makes it less expensive. Natural gas is going to be much less expensive than your electricity. Electricity is expensive everywhere, except unless you want to move to Iceland or someplace where they're using thermal heating energy. But in most places, your consuming of energy drives up the demand for it, drives up the prices. And so electricity is on the high range. So we do not recommend that. And I have people you can speak to about this. Like when you move here, in most cases, it's not beneficial to get an electric heat pump. Just keep your gas furnace. The PayScale says that the transportation of buses and gasoline prices are about 7% higher than the national average. And that might be true because they're taking into consideration the Gulf Coast states where gasoline prices are very low. But if you look overall, I was driving in Nevada and going to Las Vegas, and the prices of gas along the way there were $5.70. And here in Utah, I'm paying $4.19. So it's relative to where you are and what you're doing, etc. However, we have the BYU, which is a Brigham Young University, and we have UVU, which is the Utah Valley University, right here in Provo-Orem. And these have so many students, thousands and thousands of students. I forgot the exact number now because it always changes each year. And these students get to ride on the buses with no cost. They get a student card, and same with high school students. So they get to ride the community buses, the city buses, as well as the light rail. So they can take the train from Provo to Salt Lake, UVU to Salt Lake. And so there's these train stations everywhere where these students can get on. Anyone, you can pay. It's not very much. I'm not sure why they say that the bus costs more than that, because you can't get much less than zero. So I'm not quite sure what that, I live here, so I can give you from my experiences, right? So again, we can't always Numbers are good, facts are good, but we always want to fact check even the facts, right? Now, the healthcare, according to PayScale, is 8% lower than the national average. And I can tell you, moving from Florida to here and so I've lived in California, I've lived in Washington, I've lived in Oregon, I've lived in Florida, and I've been to all of the other states, except for a few up in the Northeast that I haven't been to. But I will tell you, based on my experience in my life, that Utah has by far, number one, the least expensive. Prices are very nice and low. If you're on Medicare over 65, you're put on Medicare and supplemental insurance. And here in Utah, that supplemental insurance is so low. I pay $33 a month for it to get rid of that horrible 80% that the government charges you for your Medicare bills. What I love about that is that when I got the insurance, my insurance person told me that it's a good thing I moved from Florida when I had to transfer into this insurance plan, because the people are so healthy here in Utah, it drives the cost of healthcare down. So the healthier a state is, the less expensive the healthcare is. And in Florida, it was very expensive because there's a lot of unhealthy people in Florida. So in Utah, it's like the opposite. And Utah is known, and it consistently ranks in the top 5 of the healthiest states in the United States. And Utah is always in the top 10 of healthcare. Taxes. So taxes is another thing. Now, I moved from a state that has no income tax, Florida, but we have high property taxes. So again, there's some trade-offs, right? But let's say you're moving from California, where your average tax is like over 9%. Here in Utah, you'd be paying 5%. So 5% is the top rate, and or 5.1%, I believe it is. So again, you're doing a trade-off, right? And from a financial standpoint, a lot of times it makes more sense to move to a state that has a lower tax or a no tax state. But always remember, when you move to a no tax state, they have to make that money somehow. So there's going to be other things that cost more. So here in Utah, everything can be lower priced, even though PayScale is saying some of these things, of course. But from my experience of living here, I can tell you that the costs are much lower in a lot of areas. Now, the one area where I found that California is less expensive is in your groceries. California has great grocery prices. Utah is a little bit higher than that, but not as high as Florida. So again, it's all relative. So you can't always just go by what some article or some survey said. The other thing that you get here for your taxes, and that's one of the things you want to look at, is the state responsible. So it's a debt-free state. They continue to grow their investments and everything here in Utah, which makes it very strong economically. Huge, really strong job growth, great tech sector. I talk all about that in my video here about Provo being the best performing city. And so you can watch that video to learn more about the different awards that Provo has gotten. And Provo is considered a large city, 160,000 plus population. It is considered a large city on the scale of Austin, Miami. So we beat those cities out in a lot of these areas. One of the most area where we beat them out is safer schools and safer communities. That is one thing you will find here in Utah, that the schools are very good, private and public. Plus we have so many universities and colleges. It's just the state full of education. And that really helps people. We have over 90% high school graduation rate. California has an 84% graduation rate. California has good schools, but they just have too many people in each classroom. And you don't have that here in Utah. So those are some of the great things about cost of living and making your decision to move to Provo, Utah. If you are thinking about making that move, that's very important. Please subscribe to this channel so you can keep up with all our market updates. We do tours, walking the neighborhoods, showing you different homes, what the homes look like. We do real estate advice, and we do a wonderful job of all of our restaurant reviews and all of the events. We have a website called movetoprovoutah.com that is not real estate focused, but it is full of all your restaurant reviews and all of the events. So you just subscribe to the events and you will find so many things every day to do here in Provo. You could never get bored. I appreciate you watching this video, and please subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you again and helping you make your move.